On this episode of RevHang, Ben and I talk about the Gallagher Grand Prix in Indianapolis and the Formula One Hungarian Grand Prix. Let's do it. Hello everybody and welcome to RevHang. I'm your host, Nathan Nevue, and alongside me today is my fellow car nerd and co-host, Ben Bagley. How's it going, Ben?
Oh, pretty good. I'm about to become a motorcycle nerd here pretty quick. I just got my first step of my motorcycle license done, so that's exciting.
Very exciting. That's super cool. I have been meaning to get that certification myself.
Yeah,
So
I really
hopefully-
channeled my MotoGP knowledge that I've gained while doing this show when I went through all the slaloms and corners for the test.
Yep. Just out there with like Valentino Rossi.
Yeah, I'm proud to
Carving
say I
out the
leaned the
corners.
most out of any rider out there.
Honestly, that does not surprise me. But all right, let's just jump right in. We've got a couple races to talk about today. We'll start with the Gallagher Grand Prix in Indianapolis, Indiana. This was the IndyCar race this week. So we'll go through the top 10 in qualifying to give you some context. On pole position was Felix Rosenqvist in the McLaren. Second place was Alexander Rossi, and third was Pato O'Ward. 4 through 6 was Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, and Christian Lundgaard. And then 7 through 10 was Alex Palou, Rinus VeeKay, Colton Herta, and Connor Daly. Some other interesting things to note. Marcus Ericsson did not put in a qualifying time, so he started last in this race. And then some other big movers were, I know Scott McLaughlin started 15th, and everyone else I think kind of just stayed where they were for the most part.
Yeah, I was glad to see that Newgarden was still able to race. I know there is some question as to whether he'd be able to after some medical problems earlier in the week. So it was good to see him out on the track and doing fairly well.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. He took a knock on the head after the last race, and so the medical tent did look at him and clear him eventually. But yeah, it was definitely good to see him out on the track again. Would have been a bummer considering he's a very, very big championship contender at the moment. So a DNS would not have been good for that.
No.
Yeah. But, alright, so on to the race. On the start, it was pretty clean through turn 1. But Pato O'Ward got hit in turn 2 and spun around. He stalled the car but was able to get it going again. But he ended up at the back of the field after qualifying third, which was pretty unfortunate for him. He was going around the outside in turn 2, 3 wide, and Colton Herta just ended up, I think, making contact with Will Power in the middle, and then Power had nowhere to go and ended up tapping the back wheel of O'Ward, and that was that. So it was just a racing incident, but unfortunately O'Ward was the one that kind of got the short end of the stick on that.
Yeah, another guy who it kind of sucks to see him out, considering he's been really fighting for that championship spot.
Yeah, he's had some poor luck this season. Hopefully he can either claw it back or, just start fresh next year and hopefully have a better title fight for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this unfortunately probably did not help his championship hopes this year. But anyway, on lap 1, Colton Herta flew up the field, reaching P3. He started in 9th place, so he made up 6 positions on the first lap. Pretty impressive stuff, but this is also the race that he won this year. Same track earlier in the season, and it was a wet race, and he also dominated the field in that race. So it looks like Colton Herta likes this place.
Yeah, it seems to be the case.
Yeah. Dalton Kellett spun and stalled his car on lap 3, and that caused the first caution of the race. Will Power decided to dive into the pits under caution. It was only the third lap, like I said, so it was pretty early, but I think he had taken some damage when he got into a collision with Award on the first lap, and then Helio Castroneves on the third lap. So I imagine he went in to get that sorted. But speaking of Helio Castroneves, that guy was absolutely dive bombing people all day long.
Yeah, I see in the script you wrote Helio Castroneves was sending it all day.
Yeah. He was the latest of all of the late breakers in this race, and he actually ended up getting a penalty for causing avoidable contact with, I believe, Kyle Kirkwood. But yeah, he was entertaining to watch for sure. Just watching him dive from 50 feet back and ending up wheel to wheel with people. But anyway, Colton Herta passed Alexander Rossi on the restart after the caution into turn 1. So that was for second place. At this point, Felix Rosenqvist was still in the lead. Marcus Ericsson slowly made his way through the field. He started P5, remember, and then I think by this point in the race he was P14. He eventually made it all the way up to P11, though, by the end of the race.
Yeah, pretty good recovery drive.
What's up?
Pretty good recovery drive.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely damage limitation after starting last. But yeah, I'm sure he wanted more. I know he said he was aiming for top 10 this race.
He was so close.
Yeah, he was pretty close. He just didn't quite have the lightning bolt pace that he usually does. But P11's still a really good recovery. He's still very much in the championship. So not a huge deal, but he should be looking to finish probably top 3 for the rest of the season if he wants to win the championship.
Yeah, maybe make it to qualifying next time.
Yeah, that would be good. So moving on, Simon Pagenaud, unfortunately for him, ran out of fuel on lap 36, which caused a caution and a mass exodus into the pit lanes. But yeah, you don't see that too often in road races. That doesn't happen too much.
No,
he ran out of fuel.
Pretty well calculated out.
Yeah, it wasn't even the end of the race or anything, which usually when they run out of fuel, it's on their last stint, but a little odd.
Yeah,
but yeah, anyway.
It was a great time for him to run out of fuel for everyone else.
Yeah, it made the pit stop very easy for everybody. Everybody got to come in and pit under caution. So since everybody did get to pit under caution, no one actually ended up losing out. But, that's just how it goes sometimes. So at this point in the race, Colton Herta was leading ahead of Alexander Rossi. And on lap 42, Herta had a gearbox failure, which ended his race. Another race ended from the lead, just like last week.
This is a certified Colton Herta moment now.
Yep. But yeah, he hit a curb too hard on one of the corners, and after he hit the curb, you hear a big bang, and all of a sudden you could hear his engine was working, but it was not engaging with the car at all, and it was a cut and dry gearbox failure. So unfortunately, that was it. So he did not finish the race, which promoted Alex Rossi to the lead of the race. And after that, Rossi just kind of controlled the pace. He had no problem staying in front. But Scott McLaughlin, like we've said earlier, started 15th, but ended up making his way all the way up the field to finish 4th place. Pretty impressive drive from him.
Yeah.
And then Felix Rosenqvist dropped to 9th after starting on pole position. I don't know what happens with this guy, because he's really good at qualifying, but then he just drops down in the race. And it's not like he doesn't have race pace, because he's had good races and he's been fast in races before. But it just seems like he always drops down the field, and I think he never uses all of his push to pass, which I think is probably part of it. Yeah. He just doesn't utilize his push to pass like other drivers do. So I don't know.
Yeah, I noticed I kind of stopped paying attention after he lost the lead, and I kind of zoned out, and then I came back, and I was like, wait a minute. Where did Rosenqvist go? Wasn't he in the lead? Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of weird to see him just kind of disappear to almost out of the top 10.
Yeah, just a little strange.
Maybe driving a little too conservatively, or thinking he'd need to save more fuel or tires than he did. Who knows?
Yeah, it's possible. But yeah, not a great race for the McLaren drivers, with Rosenqvist in 9th. And then Pato O'Ward ended up finishing 12th. They've had better races for sure.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. Will Power, after this race, takes the lead of the championship with 4 races to go. And Rossi ended a 3-year streak without a win as he crossed the line first.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize it had been 3 years. That's, well, granted, it's before I started watching IndyCar in earnest. But that's a pretty long time to go without a win. At least in IndyCar, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like 48 or 50 races or something like that they were saying. It's been a while. But, yeah, good for him. I know this has been kind of playing on his mind a little bit. So hopefully it's a good confidence boost for him. I'm sure it is, because I don't know how it wouldn't be. But it'd be good to see him finishing up higher more often, I think. He's a very talented driver, so.
Yeah, especially to, show up a little more next to some of his teammates who seem to be doing a bit better.
Yeah. And then his teammates, for those who don't know, are Colton Herta, and Roman Grosjean, and Devlin DeFrancesco.
Yeah, so I guess when I say his teammates, which are doing a bit better, I mean Colton Herta.
Yeah.
I don't know if Grosjean or DeFrancesco have really been putting the nails to Rossi in any way this season.
Yeah, it's kind of been a rough year for Andretti, it looks like.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Chip Ganassi Racing is having a good one. I don't know what the Constructors title really looks like right now for IndyCar. It's kind of hard to measure that, because some teams have 1 car and some teams have like 6 cars, so
and they're all different
not exactly
colors.
It's not exactly a level playing field. But anyway, so we'll go through the results of the race. In first place was Alexander Rossi, followed by Christian Lundgaard and Will Power. 4 through 6 was Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, and Rinus VeeKay. 7 through 10 was Graham Rahal, Scott Dixon, Felix Rosenqvist, and Alex Palou. 11 through 15 was Marcus Ericsson, Pato O'Ward, David Malukas, Callum Ilott, and Takuma Sato. 16 through 20 was Roman Grosjean, Connor Daly, Devlin DeFrancesco, Helio Castroneves, and Jack Harvey. 21 through 23, rounding off the finishers, were Dalton Kellett, Jimmy Johnson, and Kyle Kirkwood. And then the non-finishers were Colton Herta and Simon Pagenaud. So that rounds off our IndyCar section. Let's move on to my favorite new segment, Zoomer Rumors. Did not get any responses last week. Zoomer Rumor time. The option is still out to you guys. Just hit us up at #RevHang Podcast. Let us know if you want us to change the name from Zoomer Rumors to something better. Really not that difficult of a task, I don't think.
And there's no time limit. Time is but a construct.
Exactly.
We're talking Zoomer Rumors.
Yep. If you hear this, 10 years into the future, and we're still podcasting, if it's still Zoomer Rumors, please, in 10 years, it'd be, 2032 at that point? You know who you are. You're probably the only one listening to this. Hit us up on Twitter.
I'm the only one listening to this.
Yeah, there you go. Tweet at me, Ben. Future Ben.
Huh, okay.
Okay. All right. Zoomer Rumors. Alex Palou. Not really a rumor, but just a continuation from last week. Sued by Chip Ganassi Racing for his contract fiasco with McLaren.
The best part is, I think his lawyer said that they were expecting this.
Oh yeah, they were completely expecting this.
What?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in this whole realm of this just part of the paddock in IndyCar. But
I
wow. You
yeah.
sue your own driver and then expect him to go out and continue to fight for a championship in your car. Like I don't know what's I have no words.
Yeah, like at first I was like, "Ah, poor Alex Palou. He probably made a gosh darn honest mistake, and is really in a bind, a pickle right now." And then his lawyer's like, "Yeah, we were expecting this." I was like, "No way."
Yeah, if I were to guess, I would say Alex Palou will probably end up at McLaren next year, because if I'm Chip Ganassi Racing, do I really want to sue my driver for however many millions of dollars and then put him in my car next year when
And
he
ask him to
obviously
win
is not
a
going to want to be there?
championship. Yeah,
So I think they're probably just suing for, well, I don't know if it's damages, but it's just a contract break, I guess.
yeah.
So
So
it'll probably get settled pretty quickly, I would imagine. But yeah, lots of drama there. We'll see what happens. We will keep you updated as this story unfolds, but still very much in progress. No one knows
yeah.
where Alex Palou is going to end up next year for sure, so all
Yeah,
remains
it's just-
speculation.
So I guess that part is still a rumor.
Yeah, for sure. Another non-rumor, but still sort of a rumor because it hasn't been officially announced or anything yet. Some documents were leaked on the interwebs that confirm Porsche's F1 entrance with Red Bull Racing. It's a document that states Porsche's intent to buy a 50% stake in the technical division of Red Bull, which is the actual company that builds the car and develops the engine. Well, actually, I think Red Bull Powertrains is a subdivision of that. But yeah, so it looks like that's how Porsche is going to want to enter the sport, is instead of making a standalone team, probably just develop the engine and the car with all of their racing experience, along with Red Bull, as a 50-50 partnership, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, and the part about having all the Red Bull Racing and Red Bull Powertrains be different subdivisions is definitely true. Like Porsche's not getting 50% of Red Bull, the energy drinks company.
Oh no, yeah.
It's specifically Red Bull Racing, which is a sub company. As I learned when I tried applying for sponsorships through them, Red Bull Racing is really great to work with, and they respond back pretty quick. Red Bull, the actual company, will give you the cold shoulder. So just FYI if you're looking for sponsorships, I guess.
That's awesome. Makes sense though, for sure. But yeah, so that's that kind of rumor. We will update you as that unfolds as well. I think we're expecting some more official news on that front over the course of the summer break, which is this next month of August. So yeah, we will update you as that unfolds. And then the absolute bombshell this week.
Again, not a rumor.
Not a rumor, but we have many, many rumors after this that follow this.
There we go.
Sebastian Vettel announces his retirement from F1 this season.
Yeah, he started Instagram for the first time, literally just to post a black and white video of him announcing his retirement.
Yeah, it's like so many Seb fans were so happy for about 10 seconds. The 10 seconds they saw his Instagram but didn't know what the first post was.
Yeah.
So yeah, he posted like you said, a video. It's a pretty long video too, of him explaining his retirement and why he's doing what he's doing. He wants to go spend time with his family, and he has other things he wants to pursue in his life. Those needs for him do not anymore outweigh his desire to put in 110% for a racing team every week. It's basically the long and the short of what he said.
Yeah, and that makes sense. that's definitely a reason I'm not an F1 driver. No other reason. It's because I have a lot of other obligations and I just don't have time for it.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm also a busy guy, so I had to rule F1 out pretty quickly. But anyway, so there are many rumors flying around this week about who is going to take Seb's place at Aston Martin. We've got a couple of names thrown out here I have on the script here. I've kind of put them in order of the, I think, probability that it ends up being those drivers. So from first is like, I think probably the most likely to fill the seat. And then the last one we'll talk about is probably the least likely, but still on the table. So first off, Nick De Vries, the Formula E champion from last year, had a drive with Mercedes in the first practice session in France and was basically on pace with George Russell, which is very impressive stuff. So I think, and plus he has huge connections with Mercedes, and so does Aston Martin, as Mercedes supplies their engine, and so I think that makes sense to me with that Mercedes partnership there.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, though, Williams, I think, seems to be more the junior driver team for Mercedes. And I know that's kind of where the rumors were for him to replace Latifi here at some point if Latifi does get replaced. I know it's not as sure a fact as Vettel being replaced, but I wonder if he has a chance if he'll go to Aston or if he's going to have to go to Williams and stay kind of more in that Mercedes pipeline.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We talked about Nick De Vries possibly going to Williams last episode. The more I thought about it, the less likely it seems to me because they have been on the Piastri hype train for so long now. I think Piastri would go before De Vries, but now I think Piastri's main competition is actually Logan Sargent, who is the Williams Academy driver in F2, who I think is like in the top 3 in the championship at the moment and has won a couple of races this year. So Logan Sargent, the American F2 driver, is also on the table for Williams at the moment, which I think would be really cool.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. So I don't know about Nick De Vries to Williams. It's still possible, very much possible. I think if he gets an F1 seat, it'll be either at Williams or Aston Martin here. So there's that one. The next one on our list is Mick Schumacher.
Yes.
What's up?
No. I'll let you go through this.
Okay. So the Haas driver is an option, I believe, for Aston Martin because Sebastian Vettel said in an interview that he was talking to Lawrence Stroll and highly praising Mick and trying to convince him to get him into a seat. Whether or not that's going to happen is, all speculation. I don't know how likely it is, but if Seb's endorsing him, I don't know. I think that holds a lot of weight. I mean, he's a 4-time world champion, and I think he can see talent. I know they're friends, but I think it still carries quite a bit of weight that Seb's endorsing him for that seat.
Yeah. This is the one that I saw a lot of buzz about. And I was kind of wondering if it was more because Mick and Vettel are so close off the track, or for some other reason. But I don't know if Aston Martin's the team that I would go to if I'm racing for Haas right now.
Yeah, if I were Schumacher, I wouldn't.
Yeah, it seems like he's kind of lined up for not necessarily a championship win quite yet, but he's been scoring points. Magnussen seems like a pretty good driver pairing for him, and overall it seems like he's been having a pretty positive experience with Haas racing. So I'm not sure if he would take that and move either laterally or even down, as some people think, to Aston Martin, even if it was Fred Vettel's seat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one. I think the only reason he would move is because it seems like at the moment his, kind of fast track to Ferrari that he was on has kind of been slammed shut since Carlos Sainz has been performing so well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's kind of disillusioned. Well, not disillusioned. I don't know if he's maybe a little. Maybe he wants to get into a different track, in terms of his trajectory and his career. But I don't know. I think I would stay at Haas if I were him for now.
Yeah. Plus, do you really want to go to Ferrari right now?
Oh yeah, no, not right now. Yeah, so that's Mick Schumacher. The next one on our list is Oscar Piastri, the F2 champion. I guess they could scoop up Piastri. They would have to do it very, very soon, though, because I really think Piastri's going to go to Williams. So if they want to really swoop in and steal this off the table, that'd be quite the move. That would be a huge story. So that'd be interesting to see. He's the F2 champion from last year. Very deserving of a seat. He had a crazy junior Formula career, just like on the levels of Leclerc and Russell and Norris, where he was just an absolute standout talent. So it'd be a real shame if he did not end up on the grid this year.
Yeah, and any way to get his foot in the door.
Yeah.
Just see him on the track would be great.
For sure. Next on our list, the next three are kind of just shot in the dark. Maybe it'll happen, but probably not. First one is Daniel Ricciardo from McLaren. This could happen, possibly, maybe. I know Ricciardo said he was committed to McLaren, but that was before there was another seat open, really.
Yeah.
I don't know, that'd be an interesting pairing of Ricciardo and Stroll.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know if I could see Daniel Ricciardo at Aston Martin. That seems like a weird driver-team pairing.
Yeah. They have, it seems like the way the team is ran, it's not really conducive to Ricciardo's personality.
No.
I think McLaren, in terms of that aspect, is a much better place for him.
No, and it's kind of, aside from him being a pretty good driver, it's kind of the reason they picked him up was because they thought his dynamics with Lando would be pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
So, between him and Stroll, I don't quite know how that would play out. I feel like I haven't really seen any interactions between them in interviews or whatnot.
Yeah. It'd be weird, I think. I really don't want him to move there, but I don't think he will. I think he'll be at McLaren next year.
Yeah, McLaren or bust.
Yeah. So, after that, we have Nico Hülkenberg. This would break the internet if this happened.
Oh my gosh, can you...
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be insufferable on Reddit for
the
weeks.
Hulken backs. All the memes. He is the current reserve driver for Aston Martin, so the only way I really see this happening is if for some reason they cannot find another driver quickly enough. But they've got like 6 months to find a driver, and we just listed I'd say 3 of the 5 that we've listed to so far are wide open and would take that seat in a heartbeat if they were offered it.
Yeah, and honestly, I love Nico Hülkenberg, but I don't think he's as fast a driver, and I don't think he quite has the upward potential as a lot of the people who are further up on this list.
Yeah, he does have experience, and that would be good for developing the car, but like you said, I don't think his potential is as high as other people's. I think his ceiling is a lot lower. The junior Formula and Formula E drivers have just as much skill, if not more, than Hülkenberg. So, as much as I love Nico, I think his time in Formula One is probably just about done.
Yeah, and you have to think too in terms of the marketing and the kind of more publicity side of it. It's a lot more exciting for Aston Martin to bring in a new driver with new potential than to bring in an old one who, when he did drive for Vettel as a replacement earlier in the season, didn't really show any promise as somebody who could take up the torch and consistently score points for the team.
Yeah. Yeah, he holds the record for the longest career without a podium. Not an enviable record.
No.
So would it be cool to see him come back and Aston Martin all of a sudden be a top 3 team and him getting a podium at some point? Yes. Is that gonna happen? I would say probably not.
No.
Unfortunately.
No.
But yeah, that's how it goes. That's F1. And then our last name on the list that I've heard a couple of people say is Pierre Gasly. The only reason I would see him jumping, well, the only reason I would see him moving is if he's just fed up being a secondary Red Bull driver. But at the moment, that'd be a pretty lateral move. AlphaTauri and Aston Martin are pretty close in performance right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's just tired of being in the Red Bull system, which honestly I wouldn't blame him. I could see this happening, but I don't know. We'll see. Pierre's an interesting story because his stock has definitely gone down since last year.
Yeah, for sure. And his goals seem to be changing a little bit too with that.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what happens with Pierre. I think he is signed on actually to AlphaTauri for next year. So if he did jump to Aston Martin, it'd have to be a contract break, and he can talk to Alex Palou about why he might not want to do that.
You can race for AlphaTauri and Aston Martin next year.
There you go. Exactly. All right, that concludes our Zoomer Rumor segment. Let's move on to the Formula One Hungarian Grand Prix.
Oh boy.
Qualifying top 10 were Russell, Sainz, Leclerc, Norris, Ocon, Alonso, Hamilton, Bottas, Ricciardo, and Verstappen. So I'm sure a couple of you might have raised your eyebrows when Verstappen was last on that top 10 list. Yeah, Red Bull had a really bad qualifying.
A certified Red Bull powertrain moment, baby. We're back.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, so Sergio Perez just was not very quick in qualifying. He invalidated a lap early on in Q2, which was then reinstated while he was on his second lap, and then his second lap I don't think improved. I don't even know. It was there was a lot happening in qualifying at the same time. But yeah, Perez ended up going out in Q2 pretty much slowly on pace, so just really bad qualifying for Perez. Not good stuff from him, unfortunately. Yeah, and then Verstappen went out for his first lap, set a kind of mediocre time in Q3, and then on his second lap he left the pits, and his engine was acting funny and was down on power, so he was also not able to improve his time there. So yeah, that's kind of the story there in qualifying. I don't really see anything else that's super shocking. Other than Russell on pole, it's Russell's first pole position in his career, so really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. I was excited. I don't know if I was as excited as Crofty or any of the announcers were.
Yeah, there's that British bias for you.
I had to knock my headphone volume down a little bit when he took pole position.
Yeah.
Point. Latifi in FP3 was the fastest.
Yes, Latifi in FP3, putting up the best time on the board in the wet conditions in FP3, and Alex Albon was P3.
And then the universe corrected, and he ended up qualifying 19th. So all is well in the world, but I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, another funny thing, Nicholas Latifi in Q1 put in a purple Sector 1 and still qualified last, or 19th or something, yeah.
It was like 3/4 second off.
Yeah, he was actually on a pretty good lap, and then he messed up the penultimate corner, and that ruined his entire lap. He was pretty mad at himself, as I would be too.
Man.
But all right, let's go on to the race. Both Red Bulls and Hamilton had good starts, making their way up past a couple of the Alpines, were the kind of noticeable ones. Hamilton's start was actually he made a really good move around the outside into turn 1, passing both Alpines. That was kind of a recurring story to this race, was Alpine was kind of just getting in their own way and letting people pass them.
Man, yeah, that was frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
But at least we made it past the first lap. Or rather, the first corner.
Yeah, no bowling this week. It was interesting because for most of the week it said it was supposed to be raining for qualifying in the race. But then it was just dry for both, except it started to rain just a little bit at the very end of the race.
Yeah. Bottas found a way to DNF anyways, even without the bowling adventure, but...
Yeah, that was thanks to that patented Ferrari power unit.
Oh, a Ferrari powertrain moment.
Man, I'd never heard of one of those before.
Yeah, no, we're collecting all the certified powertrain moments this year.
Yep. So yeah, after the start, Russell maintained his lead against Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. On lap 12, Hamilton and Verstappen got past Lando Norris. Once we got to the first pit stops, kind of in the early 20s, Leclerc was able to overcut Carlos Sainz. He pit on lap 22 and came out in second place behind Russell. And then on lap 31, he actually caught up to and passed Russell into turn 1. Then we kind of went around a few times, not much happened, and then on lap 40, Leclerc pit for hard tires. So Ferrari strategy enters the chat.
Yeah, this, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah. So to explain why this was such a poor decision, the Alpines at this point and several other cars had gone on to hard tires earlier on in the race, and it was clear that the hard tire was not the tire to be on, as it was like over a second slower per lap than the mediums and didn't really last that much longer. So it was really just a slow tire for there was no benefit to using it, but Ferrari said, hey, that looked good to us.
I really want to meet the dartboard they're using to determine their strategies at this point.
Yeah. That's what it seems like, kind of. So Verstappen was able to close the gap to Leclerc pretty quickly and passed him pretty easily into turn 1 on lap 41. Then he spun the car on the next lap, which let Leclerc back through, but it was a full 360, so he was able to keep going, and he only lost probably 3 seconds of time total. It's actually pretty impressive, because you can see as he started spinning, he knew he was going to spin, so he just lit up the rears so he would go all the way around rather than flying backwards across the track.
Yeah.
That's definitely some experience showing right there.
Yeah, just absolutely brute forcing that car around the track.
Yeah. But that didn't last long. Leclerc's lead on lap 45, Verstappen was able to pass him again into turn 1. On lap 54, Russell passed Leclerc to take P2, and then he just continued to drop back after that. He went into the pits on lap 55 for soft tires. So another kind of like weird Carlos Sainz unnecessary pit stop kind of thing. It's just baffling. I just don't understand sometimes what Ferrari's thinking. But yeah, Leclerc pit again for softs, and then we had Hamilton making moves on Sainz on lap 63, and then Russell on lap 65. So Hamilton moved up to P2, and then Leclerc continued to drop back through the field as it started to rain. But yeah, the race ended with Verstappen, Hamilton, and Russell on the podium.
That was a lot of work just to get throughout the entire season, just to come back to the Verham podium finishes like last year.
Yeah. Yeah. This race was weird. I don't know. It was not to be completely honest, it wasn't very exciting. It was kind of boring. but I mean, we got some good Ferrari strategy memes out of it, so there's a good trade-off, I guess.
No, it was a terrible trade-off.
Well, I guess if you're a Ferrari fan, it's not a good trade-off, but
Not even a Ferrari fan, and it just hurts at this point.
it is kind of hard to watch. It's like they're becoming like the laughing stock of the paddock, and it's kind of sad because they're such a legendary team.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if we were to see inside the mind, it would be of a Ferrari strategist. It would be kind of like the end of Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where the lady asks, "It's like I want to know everything," and she melts.
Yeah,
That's a long metaphor, but I was trying to say if I was able to see inside the mind of a Ferrari strategist, I'd probably melt.
yeah, yeah. I can see that.
I'll work on conducting the metaphors a bit better in the future.
No worries, man. You got this. So the fastest lap went to Lewis Hamilton, and the driver of the day went to Max Verstappen. The results for the race: the top three on the podium were Verstappen, Hamilton, and Russell. 4 through 6 was Sainz, Perez, and Leclerc. 7 through 10 was Norris, Alonso, Ocon, and Vettel. 11 through 15 was Stroll, Gasly, Zhou, Schumacher, and Ricciardo. And then 16 through 19, rounding off the finishers, were Magnussen, Albon, Latifi, and Tsunoda. And then our one DNF this race was Valtteri Bottas with a mechanical failure. So, yeah, like we've been saying, Ferrari strategy strikes again. Not, just can't seem to get on top of it. I don't know what's going on.
Do you think they're going to learn from this? Do you think they're going to get better throughout the season? Or do you think this is as good as it gets for Ferrari?
It's like, I want to say that they're going to learn from it, but considering they basically made the exact same mistake they made with Sainz last race, it's like, I don't know. I think it's like, I want to say they're going to get better, but they haven't given me any reason to actually believe that.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like, how could they, like, if you make a mistake twice, how could you not get better? Because you should be figuring out what the mistake was by now.
Yeah, I don't know. I they'll probably get a little better in the second half of the season. But yeah, we'll just have to see. It's gonna vary from race to race, obviously.
Yeah, it's like watching a 5-year-old stick their hand on a hot stove, and then after he heals from that, he sticks his head in the oven.
Yep.
They just haven't learned. So hopefully they have a month to put their strategist in a strategy simulator and get some good laps in the strategy simulator.
Yeah, hopefully. So Max Verstappen won this race, and he's just looking absolutely unstoppable right now.
Yeah.
So much momentum. There's, like, going into the summer break with this huge win from 10th place, he's just going to be so confident when he comes back, and he's got, I mean, what probably equals the best car on the track, or at least it is when he's driving it. Yeah, I don't see anybody catching up to Verstappen. Like, even if Mercedes has this resurgence that they keep saying they're gonna have after Spa, I think they're too late. Like, I don't see, because George Russell is the closest Mercedes driver to Max Verstappen right now, and he is exactly 100% or 100 points behind him. 100%. So
Red Bull just has to continue to not have the worst strategy team on the pit wall, and I think they're golden.
Yeah, but 100 points, to give you an idea of how much of a lead that is over Russell, that's 4 Max Verstappen DNFs with George Russell winning the race.
Which could happen. We're not saying that it won't happen.
Yeah.
However.
Not likely. Yeah, I don't know. It's too much of a lead. And then his lead on Leclerc, he's got a 70-point lead on Leclerc, so it's pretty much the same boat. Like, I just think he's too far off in the distance now with only like 9 races left, I think, something like that.
Yeah, we do have a pretty juicy fight for second, though.
Yeah.
All the way from second to sixth, Charles, Perez, Russell, Sainz, and Hamilton are all within about 30 points of each other.
Yeah. This the race for second place is definitely heating up in the Drivers' Championship for sure. Yeah, anybody in that group you mentioned could easily take second, just depending on how the cars perform in the next half of the season. But yeah, Mercedes is definitely making a comeback. They got another double podium this week, just like they did last week. So I would not count them out of getting second in the Constructors' Championship either, especially with Russell now passing Sainz. So, yeah, that could go either way. Second, the driver and the Constructors is very much up for grabs, as well as the drivers, actually. But
yeah.
The hard tires this race were not not it. They ruined a few people's races. Like, both of the Alpines were slow and dropped back quite a ways because of the hards. Daniel Ricciardo was having a fantastic race until he pitted and asked for soft tires, and they put him on hards, and then he dropped back to like 15th. After he was like in zone. He was like in 7th or 8th. Like, he was right up there with Norris, and then they put him on hards, and he dropped back so fast.
Yeah, no, he had some great overtakes too. And they just bombed his race.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. But yeah, there were a lot of people whose races were affected by the hards. That's just kind of how it went in this track. The tires are different at every track, so especially in the first year, teams aren't really going to know what to expect performance-wise. So strategy mistakes are going to happen, pretty much without fail.
Yep.
And then a little bit of a tidbit of information, nice little stat for you, Ben. Leclerc has 1 podium in the last 5 races.
Oh no, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Wait, did Joe finish this race?
He did, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been putting together a little compilation of statistics and fun stuff, numbers-wise, that we'll look at in our mid-season review episode, which will be our next episode. That'll come out in a couple weeks over the summer break. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm excited.
Gotta love the stats. So yeah, we talked about our championship standings a little bit. Max is still very much in front. Fight for second, very heated. And then the battle between Alpine and McLaren continues. They're going back and forth still. Alpine takes the lead over them in 4th place after this race. So, yeah, that could go either way by the end of the season. Another thing, Verstappen doesn't need to win any more races to win the championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can finish second every time, and he'll win the championship. Pretty nuts.
Crazy to me. Just absolutely dominating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't think anyone's going to catch him, is because all he has to do is finish second at every race, and he'll win the championship. But I'm sure he'll win several more races. I would not be surprised if he won the championship by, like, Mexico. I know a lot of people were saying that they want to see Verstappen win the championship in Mexico by getting second with Perez winning the race, because that would just be the ultimate Red Bull party.
Oh my gosh, that would be insane.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to too now.
Yeah, let's hope for that. But that wraps up our Formula One segment this week. We'll move on to our overtake of the week. I gave this one to Daniel Ricciardo, overtaking Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon in Hungary. This is the overtake you briefly mentioned earlier on, Ben.
Yep.
I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it was into turn 2 in Hungary. Alpines were kind of tripping over each other a little bit, and Ricciardo just took advantage of the situation and sent it down the inside and flew past both of them.
Yeah, beautiful double overtake.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then he boxed for hards and ruined his race.
Very cool.
But yeah. So good stuff from Ricciardo this week. The pit stop championship time. This week, Sergio Perez is back on form, finishing in first place with a time of 21.118 for his total pit stop time. His total pit box time, the time stationary, was 2.1 seconds. And I believe that's the fastest of the season, because I think 2.3 was the next fastest.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, and then with Verstappen having a 21.2 time in second place in the pit stop championship, I think Verstappen's pit stop would have broken that record too. So Red Bull was very, very on it today with their pit stops.
Yeah, I still miss last season's sub 2-second pit stops that we saw to Red Bull, but 2.1 is okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting sub 2-second pit stops in the next year or two as they get better and better. But, we'll see. The regulations changed specifically to slow people down, so who knows if that'll actually happen.
Yep.
So Perez and Verstappen were the first two, and then after that it was Vettel, Gasly, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Stroll, Hamilton, and Russell rounding off the points. So any movement in the championship? Not really. Perez is still very much in the lead. I think everything pretty much stayed the same in terms of positions in the pit stop championship.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our predictions for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Oh boy.
Do you want to... Well, let's remind everybody of the top five. It was Verstappen, Hamilton, Russell, Sainz, and Perez.
All right, I had my first top two locked in. I had Verstappen and Hamilton. I had Perez, Russell, and Alonso rounding that out with Leclerc as a dark horse.
Mm-hmm. And then
that didn't work out super well.
Yeah. Leclerc didn't actually end up in the top five. Wow.
Brutal.
I had Verstappen winning, followed by Perez, Sainz, Leclerc, and Hamilton, with Russell as my dark horse. So I got Verstappen and Russell correct. But that was it.
We take whatever points we can get.
Yep. Usually 2 is about what we get.
Yeah, let's par for the course.
Yeah. All right. Fastest lap prediction. We both said Verstappen, right?
Yep.
And then the fastest lap actually went to Hamilton. And then driver of the day,
I said Hamilton.
Yeah, I said Leclerc.
And it was actually Verstappen.
Verstappen, yep. So, if you would have switched to your fastest lap and driver of the day predictions, you would have gotten both of them right.
That would have been so great. Yeah, no, unfortunately I predicted Hamilton having really bad qualifying and shooting his way up to podium. And then it was Verstappen. So.
Well, actually, now that you say that, he did. He had a kind of mediocre qualifying and then shot his way up to second place.
I guess he did. Not nearly as much as I was thinking. I had in mind, like, this guy's starting in 15th and he's going to get, second.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think he's his race kind of got overshadowed by Verstappen starting 10th and then winning the race by like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's move on to our predictions for the Belgian Grand Prix in late August. Oh boy, that's like a long time away. I'm gonna miss this sport.
Time to hit the simulator.
Yep. All right. Who went first last week? I think I did, so why don't you take the reins on this one, Ben?
Alrighty. You know, I'm gonna keep Verstappen first. I'm gonna put Russell second. And Hamilton third. I would love to put the Ferraris higher, but I have no idea. So, yeah, Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Sainz, and I don't know. Who's another contender in there. I'll put Perez fifth, and then my dark horse will be Leclerc, just in case he doesn't DNF this time.
Okay. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go bold and say Carlos Sainz wins this race.
Stunning.
And Leclerc, Carlos Sainz wins, followed by Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, and then Leclerc fifth, with Perez as my dark horse.
Wow, that's a lot of faith in Ferrari.
Well, okay, so the reason is because Spa is very much a power circuit, and Ferrari has the fastest engine. Whether it will blow up or not remains to be seen, and whether Ferrari will screw up their strategy also remains to be seen. But I'm betting that Leclerc gets a little messed up by Ferrari's strategy, and so Sainz wins the race. That's my reasoning there.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
All right. Fastest lap prediction.
I'll put Leclerc.
Leclerc? Okay. I'm gonna say... I'll say Max Verstappen. All right, driver of the day.
Sebastian Vettel. How about that?
Okay. Sebastian Vettel. Who do I think's gonna do? I'm gonna say Lando Norris.
All right, so we got some less seen names on that board for that.
Yeah. Cool. That will be an interesting one to see how that goes. But that is like a month away, so we'll be waiting a little while.
Yeah, got a little bit of a break.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else you'd like to tell the people before we sign off, Ben?
No, not really.
Alrighty. Well, like we've been saying, it is the summer break coming up, so no F1 for like a month. We will have a couple of episodes coming out, though. One of them will be a mid-season review, where Ben and I just kind of go through what's happened so far, talk about some stats. We might talk about a couple of races from other series, because those are going to continue as well. And then possibly, I haven't nailed anything down yet, but we might have Daniel back with Ben to talk about Le Mans this year, and maybe go through some history and talk about why that's such a cool race. I'm looking forward to that. I'll have to start writing that pretty soon. But yeah, so we will keep you posted on the socials. So make sure you go follow us there, as I'm about to ask you to do in my little outro paragraph here. But speaking of the outro paragraph, thank you, everybody, so much for listening to this episode of RevHang. If you enjoyed it, leave a like or rating on the platform you listened on. It really helps us out. If you'd like to follow our thoughts and opinions on the motorsport world, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at RevHang Media. If you have any thoughts or questions about racing, or even about us, post a tweet at #RevHangPodcast, where you can also post a tweet giving us a new name for Zoomer Rumors. We would love to feature your questions and comments on our show, and definitely want to interact with you guys. You can follow Ben on Instagram at BenjiMeetsWorld, and or myself at 2n_squared. While you're at it, go check out our website at RevHang.com, where you can find a calendar of upcoming races, updated standings for the racing series we talk about, along with our awful predictions for the F1 season. We'll return in a couple of weeks to recap the first half of the season, but until then, I have been Nathan.
Always wear your helmets. I've been Ben.
Thanks for hanging out, guys.
See you later.